Yo, can you hear me, dude?
I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, sweet, sweet, sweet. I'm just gonna go into a room that's quiet where you're not gonna hear my kids screaming and all kinds of stuff.
Good luck.
Yeah. What'd you get up to today?
Oh man, just chilling today.
Yeah. Do you have some time off work right now with the baby and all?
Yeah.
Nice, nice. When do you have to go back?
I told them like 2 weeks, but
Nice.
it's been today's like a week,
Okay.
and I'm kind of like, oh shit, should I go back and make some money or should I enjoy this time because I won't get it back?
Yeah. Yeah. That's always the.
I don't like working backwards. So once money starts kind of going backwards, I'm like, oh fuck.
I know. I get that. No, I totally get that, dude. That's for sure.
It's funny. It's like one of them paradoxes where you're like, it's like, man, I want the time off, but then you get the time off, you're like, man, my bank account's going down. I don't like going backwards. I don't like
No,
it.
I know. I know. I think like that all the time too. Even my wife's just like, I'm always just like, in general, I hate spending money. Like I grew up with like all my family, they're all like foreigners. My family's all immigrants, you know? So it's just like,
Shit.
I'm first generation. So it was this like, you know, it's just like not wasting money is just so ingrained in me, you know? And like that, like anytime I see like, oh man, like, we spent all A, B, C, and D, it's just like, oh fuck, you know?
Yeah, it's like for me, it's like even like with like the video games that you play, like where
Mm-hmm.
you except for like zombies, but like that zombies like for Call of Duty, where you
Yep.
like play and you keep going and going and going, it gets crazier and crazier and crazier. But
Yep.
then like
Yep.
once you die, you got to start all the way over.
Yep. Yep.
Tho-
Yep. Yep.
Those games are so fucking tough for me to stay interested in because
Yeah,
like
I get it.
I don't like rebuilding and starting over and going backwards. Like I like to make
So
things
boring.
build and grow and fucking. It's like I don't know.
No, it's a good point. It's a really good point. No, I know what you mean too. It's like that's why for me it's just like even when if I start something, I have to see like that there's there's also like an end game. You know what I mean? That I'm not just kind of aimlessly kind of doing shit because it's just like I find that you look back and like I was just working backwards that whole time.
Yeah,
You know.
it's
So
and it's funny too because it's like one of those ongoing battles with all of us jiu-jitsu practitioners, bro. Is like training, feeling
yep.
like you're getting better, and then feel like you suck ass, and then feeling like you get
Yep.
better. It's that like rope a dope feeling, but it doesn't stick
Yep.
anywhere else but here.
No, it's so true, dude. I get that. I get that. So yeah,
Uh,
dude.
you in a
Tell me when
quiet
we're.
space?
Yeah, I'm ready to rock.
You ready to rock, bro? Back by popular demand. But sorry to all the listeners, he doesn't want to talk about the fucking tour bus incidences or the tour bus secrets, man.
Now those,
Part
yeah,
of me respects that, bro, because everyone likes a good person who keeps secrets. Loyalty's cool,
yeah,
but
and it's just you never know who you might implicate, and it's also that like some of the crazy stories, you know, it could paint somebody in a bad light that now is maybe completely different, and it's just like might look back on that as oh, I shouldn't have done that, like there's a lot of good people that we met out on the road that just did some crazy things that sometimes you're like I don't know if they're happy about that, if they want people to know about that, so maybe we just won't say anything.
yeah, but I mean, at the same time, how do you look at like I get, especially now with like fucking cancel culture and all that kind of shit. It's like as dangerous as ever, but like what about like you never know what roads led to what, and even though you did some crazy shit back in the day and you made the decisions with the circumstances you were in,
Yep.
like do you have to like fucking live your life like if you're in a different position, in a different spot, in a different environment? Do you have to live your life necessarily like you know hiding that shit in the dark or?
Well, me personally, no. But there's so many other people that could be involved in stuff that you're just like, like I don't know, like if that person would want would want that information. Like I'm cool with it because
Not
I am.
regrets?
Yeah, exactly. But I'm just like, you never know how other people might take it, you know. And some people are super sensitive about stuff, so I just kind of like keep that personal, I guess, for now.
Yeah, I never personally like really live my life like that. Like I'm kind of like an open book. Kind of
Dude,
like,
see, I am too. And it to me, it's almost a detriment sometimes because I just like sometimes people know too much about me, and then I'm just like, it's like,
did I
is that a
mean to
bad?
say that?
That yeah, exactly, totally. My wife is like that too. We're pretty much just open books.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like my mindset's kind of like I kind of like live by the means of like, like I said it, I meant it, I did it for a reason,
Hmm.
It could always be wrong, it could always be right, and
Yep.
it could change from time to time, but
Yeah. Or you
I mean,
just said something, you own it, and then, yeah, I was wrong about that. I'm sorry, but I said it. You know.
yeah, it's kind of I kind of think about that a lot of times too. I'm like like for instance, with like politicians, bro. Like I'm always like talking to friends, and I'm like, why
Hmm.
don't they just come out and say like, I'm not really sure what's going on, but we have the best team on it, and we're figuring out information as we go, and we're letting you guys know as we figure it out. Why is it more important for them to come out and just act like they have the whole situation under control, even though it's something they may have never seen before or never dealt with before? You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
I think I hate that too, but I just think that's like a superiority kind of thing. It's just like it's just like I'm in power because I have the answers. So you don't want to look like you don't have the answers, but to me that always makes somebody look weaker. Like the
100%.
strongest people, right? The strongest people I've always known, I've always been able to say like, "Fuck, man, I don't know, but I'm gonna figure this out. Like we're gonna figure it out." It's like I always tend to go to that person versus the person that like, "Oh, I know the answer to this," but I could just feel that they don't, and then it just all trust is kind of like gone out the window.
Yeah, like everything from like shit, just to avoid any strikes or any possible. I mean, it doesn't really bother me, but like, let's just say aliens, for instance.
Hmm.
Like, I'll use that as an example. Like, especially with all the shit coming out lately and all the stuff everyone's talking about, I'm like, why don't they just fucking come out and say it? Like, why don't they? Oh, because the public will freak out. I'm like, what do you
Yeah.
mean? Oh, they're gonna leak a little bit of information at a time so the public doesn't freak out. And I'm like, well, how long would the public freak out for, and how much freaking out would the public do? Like, are we talking like riots? Because to be honest, we've already got that going on. Are we talking
Dude,
about like,
dude, it's okay. So I'll give you an example, a direct example of that. So I don't want to say the person's name because when they told me this, they were adamant on that. They don't really only told me this, but I was I was in LA. I was making a record, and this a record label executive that was looking to sign me. We were in like the courting phase, and like the courting phase of like signing a record deal, there's kind of like, everybody's trying to woo you, take you out to fancy dinners and take you to cool places, and you kind of talk about, you know the future of your career with this record label over these kind of events, dinners and all kinds of stuff. So I was in LA and I was at the Chateau Marmont. That's like a really really kind of this legendary hotel right in Hollywood, in Beverly Hills area, and like it's where Jim Belushi died, in that hotel, and it's like that, when I was there, just kind of hanging out. Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park was just kind of hanging out, having lunch. So it's this really,
hmm,
really weird, interesting hotel. I'm just kind of drawing out the whole picture, just so you can kind of see uh, how this came to be. But and it's just this weird place where like there are no rules in this hotel at all. Like I was hanging out there and there was this girl. I don't know if she was a model or something, but she had this dog, and her dog just started taking a piss on a coffee table and then a couch in the Chateau Marmont, and not one of the staff kicked this lady out. They just got down and they fucking cleaned it and they let her dog stay there. So it's this kind of place, okay?
huh?
And so I'm sitting there, and I know this guy's coming out to meet me, and so the whole idea is we're gonna go there. He's gonna meet me at the hotel. We're gonna hang out for a little bit, and then we are gonna go get on his private jet, and we're gonna pretty much have this meeting on a private jet. So he picks me up. We get in this private jet, and we start flying from LA through Roswell, New Mexico. We actually stopped for gas. Okay, so we get on this private jet. And by the way, like this was my first time on a private jet, and I was like blown away at the lack of security to fly private. Like you just get on the plane, no one's asking you anything. It's like it's
It's
crazy. It's just like you're kind of in a way, it's like you're above the law. It's very strange. It's just like you get on, there's somebody kind of like before you get on the flight, there's people giving you wine and stuff, and you just get on this flight. So we're on this flight, get to Roswell, New Mexico, and we're at this landing strip there. I guess we were gassing up or whatever, and then we get back in the plane, we take off, we go to the next place. And so I'm in the cockpit for a little bit, and then I kind of hanging out in the back, and I'm talking to this record label executive, and then he's just like, "You want to know something?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." He's like, "I've never really told many people this before, but he's just like, 'cause I don't want people to think I'm crazy." He's like, "But a couple years ago, he's like, I was in the cockpit, we're just hanging out on a flight, and he's like, I look over, and he's like, I saw a fucking UFO, and so did the pilot." And he's like, "It was just to the right of us," and we were like, "What the hell is that thing?" And he's like, we're staring at it for a little bit. It kind of just looked, it was just hovering, and he's like, and then all of a
no
sudden,
way.
yeah, he's like, it just took off in the weirdest trajectory, and just he's like, it just kind of like, and like he's and just shot off and disappeared completely. And he's like, I wasn't the only one who saw it, and I've always believed in that stuff, but
Was it
when
also over Roswell?
I didn't. You know what? Funny enough, I never asked him where he had seen this, where he saw it. But I guess the the place that we landed when in Roswell, there was. I I don't want to I don't want to lie, so I'm trying to make sure that it was either one of two things. It was either there was like a statue of like a UFO, or there was like a statue of an alien. I don't remember exactly, but there was a statue of something um, uh, to that effect when we landed in this area that we were in. It was kind of like, I don't know, it's like this little monument kind of thing. And
Right.
I think that's what ended up triggering the conversation once we got into the air.
Have you been
And
have you
yeah,
been keeping up with all the UFO shit?
have I been? You know what? Just through like Dave Bamber has kind of like once in a while he'd be like, "Hey man, have you heard about this? Have you seen this?" But yeah, can you hear me okay, by the way?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. You're perfect.
Okay, it's really weird. There's just like this beep on my end. I'm like not sure what it's getting at here.
A beep?
Yeah, it's like beep beep beep. Yeah, I think I'm okay.
It's the government because you started talking about fucking UFOs, bro.
Yeah, like
I
the
knew this
report.
was a bad idea, dude.
Yeah, totally. So
So
yeah,
that's
so once in a while, Dave Bamber will like shoot me stuff, and I mean, like I'm sure you've watched the Bob Lazar documentary. Have you
that
seen
was
that?
cool. That was a
Or
cool one, yeah.
that to me when I watched that, I was like, this guy's legit. You know, when you just like you just know if somebody's lying or not. Like
Like
this,
your mind's made up right away. Like you're just
yes, yes, and there's just that intuition. It's like when this guy that I was talking about told me that he had seen this, I believe that he saw that, and when I saw the Bob Lazar story, I was like, no, this guy, it's legit. And yeah, no, so I haven't followed it so much, but I'm super into it.
so there's a video that just like I just saw in the past couple of days too. And again, like as we were talking about before, everything could be real or fake, or I could be right or wrong. But um, it's a video of like an airplane, and there's two different views of it, and one's like almost like thermal, and the other
Mm-hmm.
one is I want to say it's like it's more like regular, like you can kind of almost see it like it's like a camera angle, and
Yep.
it's I think it's a Boeing or Flight 370 or something. I could look it up. I could be my own Jamie. I'm not big enough for you guys to see me
Yeah.
behind me, but um, basically it's flying in the air and it gets surrounded by three of these like little balls, and they just start like floating all around it, like almost like in a triangle, but they're like weaving and around each other and shit. And all of a sudden the plane just disappears, and
Crazy.
it's caught on camera. So if this is like
Wait,
real,
the
or like
plane disappears, or those three balls disappear?
all of it, like
God damn.
the three balls are flying around, and then you see like this little like circle, like a zap,
Hmm.
almost like a mini black hole, like it just like whoop, and the plane disappears. It's gone. Flying orbs film. spinning around planes shows proof of teleportation in MH370 theory.
Do they? Okay, so has anybody talked about what this plane was, where it was going?
It says Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 disappearance. Um, Airlines passenger jet on March 8th, 2014.
See, now what I would love to do is, what, first of all, did it have like, was it like a packed plane with passengers? Because
It
I'd
says
love
there's
to just
passengers on it.
see. I would love to just now like kind of reach out to like those family members and be like, what have you been told about this? Like,
Yeah, and
is this real? Like, or is have you seen your family since this, or are they gone? You know?
see, and I love this kind of shit, bro. And
Yeah,
like even Professor, he loves like stuff like this.
yeah,
We talk about it all the time because like, but I always have the possibility in my head that like, no matter how far down the rabbit hole I get with this shit, I know it could be real or fake. Like,
yes,
you know what I mean? I don't go like dying on my hill as like, but it's crazy. I'll have to show you the video in the gym next time I see you. But it's like,
yeah,
or actually I could text it to you. But
yeah. You gotta
it's
send it to me.
I sent it to my cousin and he sent me a whole nother article which I haven't got to yet today. But it's like my one cousin, he's all about like Reddit,
Hmm.
and he's kind of like he doesn't believe like one website, one story, which is a really good thing. He does like a lot of like research, but
Hmm.
he's always got unique angles and like people who are constructive criticism on, no matter how crazy or how much sense it makes. He usually sends me a good like constructive piece. But he
Cool,
sent me something back and he's like, I was gonna send this all to you. And usually he doesn't send it to me if it's not bullshit. Like if it's like a
cool.
bullshit story, like he usually doesn't send the shit to me. He usually sends me shit where it's like, here's the article and here's a bunch of other things that people have been saying and here's a bunch of proof. And I'm like, so I don't know. He's just one of the people like I trust his judgment a lot when he comes with this stuff, and it's interesting as shit.
Killer, man. That's cool. That's very cool.
He also sent me, so there's this other article I could send you too, and this is
Hmm.
real interesting. And this was all right. So even crazier. You know how we just had the meeting, or they just had like the, some people are calling it a debate, but it wasn't really much of a debate. But the UAP thing with gosh, my mind went blank. The three guys, one's a whistleblower, and they're like digging into like weather UFOs, and we have alien spacecrafts and stuff.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
So they just had that hearing, and like about 2 weeks before that, my cousin sends me this article, and it's this guy talking about how he had a meeting with someone who's also a whistleblower, and evidently there's not just this one guy who's whistleblowing about all this like UFO shit from the government. He has like up to like 70 people who also have documents and stuff. So I think it's a way of him protecting his ass on this. And
Crazy.
he had a meeting with one of the guys, and he, in his article, he explains that like he's not really like you know, he's just talked to a few people, and he kind of got the inkling that like, man, this is crazy, this is crazy, this is crazy. But it's just talking about all the evidence we have of like UAPs and UFOs and alien technology, and evidently we've been in contact with them, but it's usually on their terms, not ours. And
Interesting.
it goes into all this interesting shit, bro. Like they don't care about humans; they care about the Earth. So one of the things,
Interesting.
yeah, they're not. They like we're like bugs to them. They don't care about us. Like they're, if we're in their way, they'll squash us. But if we're out of their way, like they don't come seeking us. You know what I mean? And
Interesting.
evidently, we're millions of years behind them. And any of the stuff that we've recovered from them, we're thousands of years behind. So even if we were able to get a UFO or alien weapons that supposedly we have, um, this is all in that article, by the way. We wouldn't be able to comprehend it or work it. And the other, so they don't even care about that technology that we've recovered. And supposedly they don't want us going to nuclear war because they don't want us destroying the Earth. And they have threatened, evidently, allegedly, they've threatened leaders of like of our world or our countries and shit. Don't go to a nuclear war because then humans will cease to exist. And it wasn't clear whether or not that means they'll wipe us out or the nukes will wipe us out. But
Interesting.
yeah, it's just a fucking crazy article. Now you can make all the speculation you want, but it's still like super cool. And it said that there is, my cousin said, one of the things he said about that article is we'll know in 2 weeks because the article states that there's supposed to be a hearing. And if the hearing doesn't happen, then we know it's bullshit. If the hearing does happen, then we know it's, got some
Something's
validity
there.
to it. And sure as shit, 2 weeks later they had that meeting. And
Interesting.
yeah, so it was like pretty fucking creepy talking about like all the aliens and shit. But that's what started that whole conversation, was like the whole aliens is like, now do you tell the public this? If it's real, if it's legit, like if we got evidence, you show it all to the public and release it. Like what are we afraid of? Like people
Hell
freaking
yeah.
out. Is it like, do you think it would ruin religion? Do you think it like, you know what I mean?
That's the thing. I think, yeah, that's it, it for a lot of people it would ruin religion. It would ruin a lot of things, right? So it's like maybe the government just doesn't, you know. I think I think there's another piece of it too. It's just that like kind of going back to what you were saying with politicians never wanting to admit that they made a mistake or whatever. It's like I think that the general world, all the governments of the world essentially just want the people to feel like they are the superior force of the world is the government, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like they can protect us. We have to follow their rules. They get to say what we can and cannot do. And it's kind of like the idea of us now confirming that there's something that's even above them that could come and just squash them, then we might lose our faith in them, in their power.
Yeah, like I just like, gosh, I don't know, like you said it earlier. Like I look at it as like someone who goes, oh shit, I made a mistake, or oh shit, like I'm working on it, or oh shit, I gotta fix that. Like problem solving mentality rather than covering up mentality. Like it seems so
Yeah.
much stronger to me than like the mentality of like, all right, here's some bullshit, let me hide it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but some people just want to hear bullshit anyways. Some people aren't ready to know the truth and like some people just want to hear bullshit. So,
yeah,
sometimes when you talk, I talk politics with somebody like, and I'll try and understand why they're adamant about something, and then like you just start talking to somebody, and their arguments are very hollow, and it just comes down to, well, this person, this official or whatever president said, or this guy
it,
said, or it's like it's just easier to just have blind faith than, you know what I mean? For some people, it's just like they don't want their minds to go there.
yeah, it just comes down to like belief system. Like they just want
Yes,
a confirmation bias.
yes,
Like
yes,
they want
yes.
they want you to confirm what they're believing and what they're thinking, rather than like objectively, willingly to adapt to new information.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And a lot of times when I talk to other people, I'm also like trying to prove myself wrong because that's how I kind of like, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to like, hey, I believe this, but I want to hear what this person has to say because like I don't want to just believe things blindly. So it's like, and it's a shame when you can't have a conversation like that with somebody where it's just like I want to grow from this conversation as well. I'm not looking for you to validify what I believe, like you're trying to make me validify what you believe. I'm trying to just learn more so that maybe my opinion changes or grows stronger.
Yeah, 100%. Like, yeah, and like there's growth in discomfort. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's uncomfortable to be wrong, and it's uncomfortable to like dehumiliate, have humility in conversations to where you could be wrong, or oh shit.
Yep.
But like I don't know. Like I just like, kind of going back to the open book. If you're like an open book, like you're always open to be corrected.
Yes.
Someone brings up some shit you did 10 years ago, or 30 years ago, or 20 years ago, and you're like, oh fuck, that was fucked up. I probably wouldn't do that again. I've come a long way.
Yep. Well, you said like there's discomfort and growth. You were saying, right?
Yep.
But then there's also growth lies within discomfort as well, right? So I think people just don't like feeling uncomfortable, period. So as soon as they feel uncomfortable, whether it's cause for growth or not, I think a lot of people will just shut down. And I think that's why doing something like jujitsu like is so important. Anything that's like that where you're always at a point of discomfort and you're forced to either give up or grow from that discomfort. I think that after a while that just starts to penetrate into your like on a cellular level, and then you kind of just operate in the world in that way. And I think that's why it's like super important for people. whether they have the like the aspirations to be like a great jitsutero or something like that, or to just, whether or not that's their aspirations, but just to be able to do something like that, to be able to understand, first of all, that anything good comes from struggle, but then how much you can grow from struggle, and then you appreciate struggle. You know, I think that's kind of the beauty of jujitsu too, really.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, man. And like there I that's like the common, I guess, theme of like this podcast we talk a lot about, or people do, but it's just like, you know, there's certain people who like to push themselves and grow and,
Yeah.
get this uncomfortable and put themselves in uncomfortable positions, which is basically exactly what you do in jiu-jitsu. And then like there's people who are completely fine just fucking like sitting around doing nothing, catching their favorite TV show or whatever.
Yeah, well, even it's
And
even like when it comes down to like diet and food. Like I have things that I really believe in, but like we were talking about the celery juice thing, right? I was talking to somebody else about it recently as well, and it was just like I was like, they're just like, well, even if all those benefits are true, okay, and let's say it could heal A, B, C, and D or whatever, I could never just drink a glass of soy juice. That is gross. And I'm thinking, if I knew something could help me, I would, and it tasted like a piece of dog shit, I would just, I'm just gonna eat it real quick and move on with my day. You know what I mean? It's like,
yes.
you got what I'm saying. It's just like, if you don't believe in the benefits of the celery juice, that's different. But if you believe in it, and don't not do something just because it's like tastes bad or it's hard. If you feel like it's going to improve your life, like, don't let that be the thing that holds you back. And it's kind
Well,
of like, I always find that strange when I'm just like, you're not going to suck it up. You're not going to suck up like chugging something for like 3 seconds
well,
because, yeah, it's
do
like, yeah,
cigarettes taste good? I mean, do fucking like, I mean, there's so much. Like, you're gonna sit around and tell me that a cigarette tastes good, or like, you
yeah,
know, even in some cases, like puffing a joint, or I don't know, like, okay, 10 seconds of chugging a seltzer drink that can clean
yeah,
out your body and give you energy and stuff for 24 hours isn't
yes.
worth it.
Well, here's the thing. It's not even like it's like like some like the people I've talked, some of the people I've talked, they're like, I won't try it because I don't think I would like it. I'm like, it's not about liking it. It's like, if you're willing to, just be willing to try it and see if it helps you out. Like, don't not try something because it's like, it's you don't like potentially the taste of it. To me, that's like a
That's
very
weak.
weird thing.
That's an easy cop
It's
out in a way.
it's so weak, and it's funny because like I find myself very like turned off in general by like weakness in people. I don't know, like, and not in, I don't mean like in this egotistical way, but I mean like when I just see like really weak-minded people that don't have any, like willpower or determination or any of that. There's just like, it's weird. It's like, I just find myself not wanting to be around that person. And I was like, man, is that like super egotistical of me? Because it's like, and it's not that I don't like the person. It's just like, I just find I don't want to be around that. And then I thought over the last little while, like I have 3 dogs, okay, and we have one dog that is like, he's been chronically ill since we got him. He was probably inbred. He was rescued from a puppy mill, and the other dogs, I have 2 other dogs that are like 2 pit bull, American bulldog kind of mixes, and they're like super healthy, super athletic. They are always looking out for the family. They're always around us. And then we have this other dog that he's like almost 9 years old now. He's always kind of being like the weak puppy that he's never really even interested in the family and stuff like that. And it's funny because the other dogs push him out. They don't like him.
Oh
And
God.
it's interesting because I'm like, it's really about, it's about you. It's like because I think when you comes down to like our DNA, it's like we are looking for the strongest pack, because the strongest pack is what always ends up surviving, right? The weak link always ends up taking you down.
Right.
So I think there's like, subconsciously, on some subconscious level, there's that. So it's like, when you just hear somebody that's like giving all the excuses about stuff all the time, it's just like, well, I want to get into shape, but like I have no time to work out. I'm like, oh my God. Yes, you do. Do you take your kids to the park? Take your kids to the park, then while they're on the freaking slide, do 20 minutes of some kind of freaking hit workout. You know what I mean? Like there is time. It's just like I hate that. You know, to
But
me that's so weak.
but keep your eyes on their kids too, because there'll be some weirdos.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, exactly.
but yeah, they. I know what you're saying, and it's like it's one thing I took out my vocabulary is like I don't have time.
Yeah.
I still say it from time to time, but like it's more of like it's not a priority because we all
Yes,
have the
yes,
same amount of time. We've all got the
exactly.
same amount of time, so it's just like how you prioritize. Are you in a position priority? If this is more of a priority, that's how I look at it. But
Yeah, and I'm
going
sure
back,
like you or like me, anytime I slack on stuff, like I don't go maybe to the gym or maybe I have a week where I eat like shit. It's not because I didn't have time. It's because I was just weak in that moment. You know what I mean? I was just like, I just kind
exactly,
of right. I just I let that get the best of me.
100%. And going back to like the diet thing too, what's kind of crazy about that is people are like, "Oh, I don't like it." So I can tell you for the past maybe 6 months, I don't know, for the past while, I've been meal prepping. I used to
Mm-hmm.
be like a sweets guy, bro. I used to drink, I used to eat a lot of
Mm-hmm.
sweets, and I used to be addicted to coffee.
Yeah,
Like I'm
that's a hard
talking
one.
like venti in the morning, venti in the afternoon, drink it all the way
Mm-hmm.
until I went to bed. Like
Mm-hmm.
so I kicked alcohol. I haven't drank in like over a year. I've been meal prepping, so I've been like cooking like well balanced macro meals. So
Mm-hmm.
mostly high protein, good amount of
Mm-hmm.
carbs because obviously I do a lot of movement and cardio and shit. And then
Yep.
also like a decent amount of fat, but healthy fat. And like I've been kind of like getting these good macro, uh, no like low sugar. Like I still eat some sweets, but my sweet consumption is mostly like turned to fruit and like instead of having a big ass bowl of ice cream or a whole pint of ice cream, I'll take those little like French toast sticks you can get from like frozen and you
Yep.
pop
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
microwave. Like I'll have
Yep.
like two of those, and that's like my.
Nice.
But the whole my point is eating like this, bro. If someone hands me a slice of cake and I have 2 bites of it, my taste buds are so stimulated from those 2 bites now that like it's
Yeah.
I'm almost like holy shit, like that is super sweet. And I also now I feel the sugar when I do it. Like if I drink like a Coke or half a
Yep.
Coke, I can feel like my body just get like so like I don't know, I can almost feel the inflammation. And I don't know if
Oh
that's
yeah.
mentally, I made myself mentally think that so I would stop it, or if
No,
I'm
you. It's not mental. And I'll tell you how I know for sure it's not mental. Because so my kids don't eat like they don't eat refined sugar. Like before they have their breakfast in the morning, they drink their celery juice. Like my kids are like they're so pure in what they eat. They have no processed shit. Like it's very rare that they do.
that's fucking
Um,
awesome.
yeah, it's very very rare. And like you know there's been a few times where like even if we go to birthday parties, like we find out exactly what they're serving at the birthday parties and we'll bring like copies of everything that are like whole foods plant based. So it's like what kind of cake is there going to be, and then we have like a baker that we know, and we'll like kind of like we go there and we'll like get that cake. It's similar cake but plant based whole foods, and we do the same with like all the kind of treats or whatever.
Mhm.
But there's been like a few times where like we've gone to parties and they've been like, oh, we know your kids are plant based. We actually got them a plant based cake, but it's kind of been like, like
Oh, that's really
everybody,
nice.
which is super nice, which is super nice. But for us, like that's why I hate the word vegan in general because vegan to me always kind of like it's I don't know I think of just like pretentious hippies like hipsters just like just
like
eating pasta all day
like the
but
joke, like how do you know if someone's vegan? Don't worry, they'll tell you.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So for me, it's not just about like eating vegan food. For me, it's about like eating good whole foods, right? So there's been a few times where we'll go and they'll be like, "Oh, we got this cake for you. It's it's plant based," and we'll be, like, "Oh, okay, cool." And like in my heart, I'm like, I don't want my kids to eat that because I don't like them eating food dyes and all that kind of stuff. But I'm like, at the same time, I'm like, it's once, this is the first time this year that they're gonna have it, whatever. And so instead of them eating our stuff, and just to kind of be like, there's like a Buddhist. Um, quote, because most Buddhists are, don't eat meat, right? And it's like, but if somebody gives you something, sometimes it out of good gesture, you just, there's a time and place where sometimes you kind of just, the gesture
Yeah.
is, you just do it for the right.
Yeah.
Somebody did
Right.
something good, you want to almost reward that goodness that they did, right?
Right.
So,
You don't want to be an
so
asshole and be like, nah, don't touch it.
yeah, especially in front of somebody, right? And so like, hey, no, sorry, the cake you bought my kids is shit. I'm gonna give you the better. You know what I mean? It's just like, this feels weird, right? So you're
You
just like,
can't we
hey,
take it home and finish it?
yeah. so so anyway, and this has happened like 3 times now, and they'll eat this cake, and after like 4 bites, they'll come like, Daddy, my stomach really, really hurts. Like, or they'll be, I can't eat it. It's too sweet. This is too sweet, Daddy. And I'm like, God damn, like that's the proof, because they're not like psyched out like we are, where like they just kind of follow what we're telling them to do, but we have a different type of knowledge of it than they do. They're just kind of reacting in the moment. They're saying their stomachs hurt and it's too sweet. And I always find that
100.
interesting.
I don't have the clean, like I mean, I've had like super clean diets for months, and then I slack, and then I get some fast
Yes.
food here and there, and then I end up in these.
Yep.
I end up out of the habit or rhythm of like prepping good meals, and I'll just like put in a couple of weeks. But I can tell 100% when I'm on a shit diet. I can feel it in my body.
Yes.
And for the people listening, just fucking you do yourself the favor, man. So many people feel like shit and they don't even know it. Like brain
No.
fog and no energy and just like
Yes.
no like no thought process other than like what's right now and what's right in front of me. So many
Yes.
people don't real like they don't even know, like once you start like eating like good balance, healthy greens, like kick the trans fats, kick the fake sugar, even like,
Yes.
and it
Yes.
doesn't have to be like abrupt. Like I think that's another issue
No.
people do. They try to like change their whole entire diet in one day, where it's like no, just like cut out bread for a little bit. Like go get yourself some wheat bread, or not wheat bread, like oat bread, or like sprouted bread, or you know like start getting like healthier shit. Start learning what shit's bad for you, and just read the labels at the store and be like, okay, I don't want soybean oil, or I don't want you know
Yes.
extra hydrogenated like and just start like one little bit at a time, and then pretty soon like you're just like you start realizing, no, I don't want to eat that, I don't want that, I feel like shit when I eat that, like.
No, it's true, man.
And so like there's a lot to, I think diet is huge. I mean, a lot of people are
It's beyond huge. I think it's everything. It's like you, pretty much like it's our gas. Like,
yeah,
and
exactly.
it's it's interesting because I'm just like, we like, you can drive like a really nice car and it needs like 93 octane, and people will like be concerned about like, you know, making sure they have the nicest furniture and the nicest clothes, and like their cars are getting the right type of gas. But I'm like, but then we'll we're willing to sacrifice literally the most sophisticated machine the world has ever seen, which is like the human body. I said, you're willing to
it
sacrifice, and it's yours.
it does make me fucking laugh, bro, when like I see, and to each his own.
Yeah, yeah, of
But
course.
you'll see like successful people, or I'll see like I've even seen like successful fucking physical therapists or body God, what are they called? Like Tom Brady's like, strength and conditioning coach. Like I've seen professional people like that, and they're like out of shape. Like they're
Yes.
they're not even in shape themselves. And I'll watch some videos, or I'll like see a guy pull up in like a nice Mercedes, get out of the car, and you're like, oh, nice. He's got probably money, or he's got like a nice job and shit. I'm like, yeah, but you could tell that motherfucker has never lifted a weight or done any kind of cardio or anything. Like you could tell that if you grab that guy's keys, he wouldn't be able to catch you. You know what I mean?
Dude, no, and
Like
that's so true. And I find that super, it's big in the medical field where it's just like, like I have a friend
huge in the
who,
medical field.
huge. It's just, and that's, to me, it's just like if I go to anybody that I'm going to like any kind of like health advice, whether it's a chiropractor or it doesn't matter what it is, if they do not look healthy to me, I just leave, because I'm just like, I don't want, like, if this person doesn't radiate what I'm looking for, then why am I talking to this person?
That's
You
what
know what
my
I mean?
buddy Jake, he his like saying is build traps, because
Yeah.
traps are one of the hardest muscles to build in the body. And he's like, I don't listen to anybody who doesn't have any traps.
Yeah. That's
And
awesome.
yeah, it's funny, but it's like, no, I know what you're saying. Like, you go to a hospital or doctor's office, or like, like, and that's kind of what I was getting at, like physical therapists and shit like that. And it's kind of like, especially if you go on YouTube, like me with neck pain and shit like that, there's times where I'm like, okay, like, let me see if I can find any new information or any kind of helpful information. Then you see these videos of these people and it looks like they've never lifted a weight. And I'm like, well, how could they, like, this person's talking about neck pain, and I know it comes from everywhere. Like, mine's from a car accident and shit, but like,
Hmm.
and I'm sure they've had pain and have pain, but how can they be like, do this stretch to get rid of pain once and for all? And you look at them and like, you don't lift anything heavy. You don't
No,
stretch, you don't strain your body at all. Like, how do you,
no.
maybe for you doing this stretch will get rid of pain in 10 seconds because your body's like a noodle, but like,
Yes.
what about for like the person who's like going out on runs, bike rides, lifting at the gym,
Yes.
jiu-jitsu, volleyball, fucking tennis, like, you know what I mean? Like, and
Yes.
I'm not trying to rip on people because to each his own. Like,
No.
some
Yeah,
people
of
it's not a
course.
priority, but like, and sometimes I try to tell myself, like, if is that guy might spend his gym time learning how to fix other people's gym time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But then
Totally.
at the same time, you're like, but how could he truly understand?
Yes. Yeah. Totally. 100%. And like I had a friend who had a heart condition. And it's funny, she actually, so she, this girl, so I used to have, actually, I cut them off about a year and a half ago. Pretty much just before I started training at Supremacy, I had long dreads. And,
Oh, that's funny. I had
and,
dreads too a long time ago.
oh, did you? Yeah. And I had them for, probably 4 years. And they're just like, kind of like, I don't know, a couple inches below my nipples or whatever. So they were long. And I had this girl that I was been doing my dreads for years. And she thought she had a heart condition, but I don't think she ended up having. Anyway, so she went to this cardiologist and she was going to see him for a while, and she was just like, she's telling me, she's like, Sal, like, this guy's morbidly obese. He's like 400 pounds and he's a heart doctor. And she's like, it's just weird. And she's like, he's giving me all this advice, and then this guy ends up dying from a heart attack. And it's just like,
Oh yeah.
to me, that's just, he's a cardiologist and he's dying of a heart attack. And it's, to me, that's just, it's wild, that, I don't know, like, because kind of for me, and again, it's nothing to do. It's like, it's not like a higher than thou or more pretentious. Like, if there is something that I am weak in and that I need to improve in myself, I need to see an example of somebody who is better than me for me to trust them in that area. It's no, to me, it's like, that's why I like, if I'll talk to my mom, she's like, hey, this doctor said this, and I'll know the doctor's talking about. Like, mom, have you ever seen that guy? Like, that guy looks like he's, he eats dog shit all day. Like, you can just tell. We can see it in his eyes. You can see it in his eyes. You can see it in his body, like his color of his skin, and it's like you can just see like a person's not a healthy person. And it's like no difference. Like, if I want to learn jujitsu, I'm not gonna go. I'm gonna like go find the guy that is tapping out people. I'm not gonna go to the guy that doesn't look like who I want to be 10 years from now. Right? It's
Yeah.
like,
I won't share it on here because I just don't want to. I don't want to like talk down too far or make it sound too negative on a person. But I'll have to tell you in the gym about like one of my first places, or one of the places I ended up training for a little bit, and it kind of goes down those lines of like, found one of them people that you don't want to be, but started learning from them.
yeah,
And
yeah, 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 yeah,
I can tell you, didn't turn out that great.
yeah. That's how it goes.
But
That's always how it goes.
yeah, and was vegan, like being vegan, as you explained it, was that like what's behind that? What's the thought process? Like, was that a health choice, personal choice, both? Like,
So,
because
so
before we get into it, I just want to
yeah,
preface it a little bit. We had a guy in our gym, captain,
yeah.
who was a vegan, and he died on the mat. And
Oh,
he,
that's at Supremacy, right?
yeah,
Yes,
and
yes, yes,
his
yes.
heart gave out, and it turns out he was a vegan for all these years because he had a heart issue. and he found out I think in his mid-20s and turned to vegan, like stopped eating red meat, stopped eating stuff that's tough on his heart because
Hmm.
evidently like the doctor said we could do this or this and you'll probably live about this long, or if you don't do it, we're not really sure how long. And sure as
Yes.
shit, the guy lived like to his 40s,
Yep.
and that just happened to be like super freaky moment. But then after they checked it out and everything, they basically said like, this could have happened him walking through a Walmart parking lot. Like it was just his heart was done.
It was done.
But he was a vegan
Well,
for a while, and I guess it helped extend his life. But he was vegan because of that.
so okay, so this is how it happened for me. So like I said, I I'm like a first generation Italian. My whole family, they're all immigrants, grandparents. Like everybody kind of came here, kind of staggered. Like my grandparents, then my dad, and my aunts and my uncles. So I was surrounded by very like Italian upbringing. So lots of like cured meats and all of that stuff.
Oh
So
yeah, red sauce and
oh yeah, and just heavy,
pasta,
yeah, pasta, lots of pasta, meat sauce. There's et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So
butter.
I was, yeah, oil, lots of oil,
Oh,
olive oil, yeah. And Southern Italians don't really eat butter. Like the North Italy and France is more butter, and that's why France, like they're the two really like big cuisines in the world that people, if you want to be a chef, you kind of like learn Italian chefing or you kind of learn French. And they
right.
don't like each other because French almost exclusively cook with butter, and Italian for the most part is mainly olive oil. And that's like they're always their big discrepancy. But anyways, long story short, I I was on tour actually with Nickelback, and you know on that tour, there was there's private chefs, there's catering, and every night we were having like filet mignon dinners, steak dinners backstage, like having these like epic meat dinners, and,
Ooh, is
and
that how
like
you say it? Is that the right way to say it?
filet mignon.
That's
Yeah,
gangster. That's fucking gangster.
yeah, yeah. What did you think it was called?
Filet mignon.
I mean,
I think
filet
that's how
mignon.
Florida people call it. I don't know, but
Yeah, it's French. Yeah, filet mignon.
okay.
But yeah,
Back to the
so
story. Sorry, that just that just blew my mind. All these years, I was today years old.
yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, we're having like all these beautiful meals every night, and like I said, I'm a heavy meat eater, and I was eating, I'm eating meat like crazy, and we were actually so we were on a North American tour, and this was actually I think the Florida Panthers play in Fort Lauderdale.
Yep.
It's right. Okay. So whatever that arena is, that Fort Lauderdale, that in Fort Lauderdale that the Panthers play in, we were playing a show there that night, and my bass player's girlfriend's dad lives in Lauderdale. Came out to the show, and like obviously when family and friends come out to show, bring everybody backstage. They were part of the dinner backstage and all that kind of stuff. And so I noticed we're all sitting down to eat, and I noticed that this gentleman, I think he's probably in his like late 50s, maybe early 60s kind of thing. I noticed he had no meat on his plate. And I thought he was just doing that as a gesture that he just didn't want to, be the guy that comes in and starts eating steak, like thinking that we're like, he's gonna, rack up a bill or something, I didn't know what he was thinking. So I was like, hey, I was like, I noticed you don't have any steak on your plate. I was like, you can go get some steak, go for it. He's like, oh no, I don't eat meat. I was like, really? And I was like, what do you mean you don't eat meat? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I don't eat meat. And he's like, and I was like, well, tell me, because I became like interested right away. And he's like, I was on 9 medications. I had heart disease, hypertension. He's like, I was diagnosed diabetic. He's listing off all of these things that he has, and then all the medications that he takes every day. And he starts telling me that the medications he started feeling like shit, and nothing's really getting better. And he's like, and then he watched this documentary called Forks Over Knives, and he's just like it. He's like, I decided to give plant based a chance, and again, Forks Over Knives is about like whole food eating. It's not about being vegan and just eating like vegan cheesies for every meal. It's like proper macros, micros. It's like you're really like it's about whole foods minus any dairy and meat essentially. So he's like I did this for a couple of months, and he's like, I'm no longer diabetic. He's like, I reversed my heart disease, no hypertension, and I lost 60 pounds, and I feel amazing. And I was like, that's really freaking cool. So I told my wife about it, or at the time she was my girlfriend. I was like, hey, Jamie, I was just like, I met this guy, and and he was telling me this, and I was like, when I come home, we should watch this documentary. So either I think she was on the road, she came out to see me on tour on the tour. I think that's what happened. She came out to see me on tour, and we were just hanging out one night, and we watched this documentary, and we're like, do you want to see if we can do this for 30 days? And
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, so we just tried it, and I felt a big shift, mind you. I We did it the right way, because there's a lot of people that try to go plant based, and like I said, they're just eating. They're not planning out. Like, I think you have to have a good base of understanding of nutrition, because if you don't, then you won't understand. Like, you can become protein deficient, just like any diet. Really, you could become deficient in anything. So it's like, we're diligent about making sure you're having enough protein, having enough, macronutrients, micronutrients, and always having balanced dishes. Um, and then we just never turned back, and then that just became our entire life. That's what we did. And then, over time, I just started, like, it's weird, man. Like, there's like this spiritual, for me at least, I'm not speaking for everybody, but there was this spiritual kind of shift in my mind. And a lot of people who have kind of been eating like this way for a long time talk about this as well, where I starting seeing creatures much differently. And then I start thinking, I'm like, man, like, oh, used to hear, like, oh, people in Asia eat cat and dog, and we used to, like, get so mad at them. But I'm just like, well, what's really the difference? If you're gonna eat a dog, like a cow, like, why couldn't you just eat a dog? And I remember then I remembered years ago being at, like, this protest at this place in Toronto that was, like, serving horse meat. But then after that protest, I got a Big Mac at McDonald's, and I was just like, right? So I thought about that. I was like, man, that's pretty fucking hypocritical. I was just like, who just decided that, like, one creature is more majestic over another?
Right?
And so, right, like, we just decided that. But I'm like, if I just ate my dog, I would go to jail. But really, he's
Plus,
no
that's
more
fucked
special,
up.
right? Yeah, he's no more special than anything else. So fast forward, like 9 years later, okay. Um, Jamie and I, we bought this farm property. Actually, we bought this house on 4 acres, but it was in it wasn't it used to be a farm like 50 years ago. It was no longer a farm. It was now a, like, kind of like, it was just like this really cool neighborhood, this row of, like, maybe 12 homes on this big street, and they were all acred property. So we bought this 4 acre property. It had this wicked creek in the back, and on the property was an art studio that used to be a barn. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so this is 2 years ago, and so I was like, man, this is going to be awesome. So I had all these plans of turning this art studio into a recording studio, and there was a greenhouse on the property. We're like, okay, this is going to be awesome. So we were closing on this property November 3rd, this is now, we're in October, and it's around Halloween time, and I'm taking my kids to, um, like, a pumpkin patch. And this is in Ontario. This is just literally just before we moved here. And so we're at this pumpkin patch, and there was this calf named William, and he was like a petting zoo guy there, and, like, he was just, like, running up to all the kids, and he was licking them. This calf, like, he was like 8 months old, so he was young. And I was like, man, look at, like, this guy. Like, he's like, this is like a dog. He's like a lot, like, loving up on the kids and everything. So I made the mistake of asking the owner of the farm. I said, hey, what happens to William? What's happening to William? They're like, oh, he's going to slaughter.
Oh,
No, he's going to slaughter November 1st. And I'm like, really? And I was like, because I guess, like, veal, they use calves for veal because the meat's more tender, right?
yeah.
So his beautiful Jersey steer. He was a steer. He was a male. Beautiful cow and steer. And I was just like, oh my god. So I look at my wife, and I'm just like, I'm gonna fucking buy this cow. So I say to, and she's like, are you serious? She's like, this is a residential neighborhood. Like, this, we're no longer a farm. And I'm like, I'll figure that out later. So I talked to the owner, like, listen, what do you want for this guy? I'm gonna take him. And they think I'm crazy. and and he's like, well, I don't know, I have to sell him per pound. I was like, just tell me how much you want from. I'm gonna take the cow. Like, if you're gonna weigh him out for steak, whatever. So I buy William, and he's going to slaughter November 1st. We don't get our house till November 3rd. And mind you, this used to be a farm. It's no longer a farm anymore. There's no fencing. There's nothing. So I pretty much begged the farmer to hold him until November 5th. And my plan was to try and convert this property back into a farm pretty much in 2 days.
Oh shit.
Um, yeah, for this calf. And it's like
Jeez,
changed my
must have
whole
hit
plan.
hard.
Yeah. So I call my buddy who has a farm, and he we rented an auger, and like we turned this art studio, which was going to be my freaking recording studio, this beautiful recording studio. We turned it back into a barn. We fenced off the property. We got permission from the town because legally, although the neighborhoods had kind of went back to residential, our property technically was still registered as rural
Oh,
farmland.
okay.
So we like there was a loophole, and we were able to have this calf. And like you have to understand, like this is like all these people, just we these new people move into this house, and then like 2 days later they just see like augers and farm fencing show up, and then all of a sudden like they just see this huge truck pull up with this cow start walking on our property. They're like, what is going on? Who are these people? And a day before William showed up, the farmer called me. He's like, "Hey, you know the goat that William was with? He's actually going for slaughter too." And I was like, "I'll buy him too." So we took him as well. So we end up with these two, this baby calf and this goat, and that was it. And I fell in love with this animal, dude. And he was like I leash trained him. I would go on hikes with him. Like people would see me hiking trails with this cow, even when he was like 1,000 pounds. He would be on a leash, and I'd walk him all over the place.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and then everyone always just thought I was like nuts. I jump on his back. I try to ride him bareback, and I had this crazy relationship where like my cow would hear me pull up on the driveway, and he would fly out of the barn like a dog, and he would run barreling down like where you think you're just gonna get run over by this massive animal, and he would just halt right in front of me. He'd put his head between my legs. He had these huge horns, and I'd grab the horns, and he would just lift me up like with his head into the air, like almost like I was on like doing dips.
So
And
no regret on this purchase is what I'm.
no regret. It was an insane amount of work, but so I know this is long-winded, but this will go into even the nutrition even more. So anyways, I started to realize like this is like a majestic creature. I was like, look how like amazing he is. He's so smart. He's learned all these things. I would sleep on top of him. I would go and like I'd have like a nap on top of him. He was so big. He'd lie down. I would lie right on top of him. This beautiful coat. And so this is where it gets even deeper with the whole meat thing for me. This is where it kind of took another level. So then there's this level now where I'm like, no, this confirms that this is not just this dumb animal that like people think of like cows and stuff. We just think they're these dumb things that just kind of walk and get shot in the head and then we eat them. I was like, no, he's brilliant. Like he's learned so much, and he's so gentle and all this kind of amazing creature. Same with the goat as well. But this cow was something special. And so long story short, now I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to get like, how do you take care of a cow? Like I've never done this before. I grew up in the city. It's not like I'm a farm boy. And so I start calling farmers. Well, I learned very quick that no one's really lived out the life expectancy of a cow. People just have them for like a year and a half to get them really fat, and they slaughter them. Like no one's had a cow for 30 years, which is their life expectancy.
Huh.
So I could not find one person, not one farmer that was able to tell me how to feed, how to care for this animal long term. Because for them, it's about if there's one sick, they kill it right away. If not, they just pack them with as much crap as possible to get them as fat as possible, so that a year and a half down the road they can sell them and slaughter them. Right? So there's the person that breeds them, then there's a person that raises them, then there's the person that slaughters them. It's like I'm like, okay, so I'm like, I decide I want to raise this animal completely holistically because I'm like, he's not going to go to a vet. I want to do everything holistically with this animal. So the first step is I'm like, okay, so I start calling around to every feed place that I could find to get organic feed for this steer. There wasn't one company that made true organic feed for cows. Okay, so I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And then I found out, so I'm like, okay, so what's the best food that you have? So I'm going to all these different places, and they're like, well, this is the best food that we have. And I found that legally in North America, they do not, no feed company has to disclose what is in the feed. And that blew my mind. I was like, so
Yeah, what the fuck?
so we're eating these animals that legally we don't even know what they're eating. So that blew my mind. So I called all of these companies and to ask them what was in the food, and they did not have to disclose it to me. And I was like, that is crazy. So then
Were
I
they
started thinking about
were they secretive?
it. Yeah, they don't, they're like, they'll tell you a few ingredients, but then they don't have to tell you everything that's in it. So so I was just like, but then so I started talking to farmers. I'm like, listen, I don't want to feed my my the steer this, because like my goal isn't to like, have
Kill
them
it.
for a year and then kill them. And I was like, and my goal is also not to like
Fat,
have this really sick cow 4 years from now that I'm gonna have to kill anyways because he's
yeah,
just dying of
fatten
cancer or
it up
something.
and
Yeah, dying of cancer or something. So dude, I did a ton of research, and I went back to like, I was like, before we started, like eating cows and farming them, like they obviously lived in the wild at one point. So I was just like, what? So I was like, they have the capability to just sustain themselves. So but it was the winter time now at this point. It's November. It's already starting to snow in Ontario. And I'm like, where am I going to get food? So I started researching. I was like, man, in the wild, they would have eaten branches, pine leaves. They would eat anything. So I decided I was going to free range him for nutrition. And I would take him to the creek, and I would just sit there and I would watch him, and he would just eat all kinds of shit. Like he would eat different types of grasses. He would eat all the needles from the pine trees. He would eat some ferns. And then he would drink in the creek, and he would eat all of this stuff. So I raised this steer. I raised him from like a little calf to like over 1,000 pound steer, pretty much just grazing our property. And then what I did is there was a local grocery store that was all organic grocery store near us, and they always had so much waste at the end of the week of stuff they couldn't sell. So they would give me boxes every week of all kinds of organic vegetables, and we would just dump them in. And he ate all of that too. And then I supplemented with hay in the winter just to have more food. But dude, when people would come to our property, they would be blown away. Like I'll show you some pictures of him of like how stunning he was. Like he looked, you never saw an animal like a cow look like this that didn't look sickly. He was like glowing, and his
wow.
fur was like ridiculous. And yeah, so then when I started finding out all of that stuff, I'm like, man, like we're eating meat and stuff like that and dairy, but they don't even have to disclose what the hell they're even feeding this animal that then we are consuming. And then the final level of all of that for me, I know this was super long-winded, but I was just like, you could like, sometimes if you walked in, I could have startled him or something like that.
Mhm.
And I was just like, at the end of the day, I was just like, for me, and it's kind of going back to the whole spiritual thing. I was just like, if this, when anybody is scared, right, or in fear, you release these pretty much toxic hormones pretty much in your body. You're releasing like all these hormones that create that energy of fear. Your body becomes tense. And I was like, so think about every time like one of these animals know they're going to slaughter. They're not stupid. They know. That's why they resist all the time as they're being dragged away. And I was just like, so they're killed, and they've released all those hormones into their body, and this is, and then I'm like, and then we eat that, you know, on top of the
Right.
fact that we don't even know what this animal ate in the first place. And then that's really what, like, I mean, this took me like 11 years of to kind of see all these things, even though I started being plant-based 11 years ago and the path wasn't completely clear of why I was doing it. Over
Right.
time, there all these little things start to happen, and then now I don't. It's like everybody, even like David Mola was laughing at me because like he was at my house for something, like, and they're laughing because I don't kill bugs. I'll, like, if I don't want something in the house, I put it back outside, but I don't kill anything. To me, I'm just like, I don't see anything as superior to me anymore because I'm like, I don't really know. It kind of goes back to like how we were talking about like aliens, right? It's like
Hmm.
aliens look at us like we're bugs, right? And we look at bugs like they're bugs, but fuck, we don't really know their intelligence. They have a different type of intelligence than we do. But like, who are we to say that there's nothing there that maybe we just don't understand? Just like you could say like aliens might think about us, right? So for me, I'm just like, I'm not God, so that's not my job to kill anything. And that's kind of where it's led for me. And then on top of it, I feel good. Um, and if I didn't feel good, then obviously I wouldn't do something just out of pride because I've done it for 11 years now. I look at my kids. My kids are glowing. They're super smart. My son is like really, he's like muscular and he's strong. He's super agile. So they don't have any deficiencies. They're super healthy. So it kind of like, that's why I've stuck with it.
That's cool. Dude,
Yeah.
so where I can't not ask, but where's the cow now? What's up with the cow?
Okay, so that's a good question. So when we moved to Florida, when we first came here for 4 months, we were kind of snowbirding, and our plan was to just head back home after 4 months. And then we fell in love with being here. And the biggest hurdle for me wasn't selling our house. Like it wasn't selling the home that we were building. It was the idea. I was like, what's going to happen to my animals back home? That was so we at first we were just like, okay, let's buy a property here and we'll ship the animals over here. So that was the initial thing. But then there was another person that had a farm animal rescue sanctuary about half an hour away from where we lived. And they heard through the grapevine that we might be moving to Florida. And he called us while I was here. And he's like, hey, he's like, because William, we also had a business back home, and William was always in the pictures, and he was in a magazine shoot in Ontario for this. There's this magazine in Toronto called like Our Homes, and it's a home magazine. So our home was featured in the magazine, and he was in all the pictures. So people knew us, and people knew him. So he's like, we would love to have him. Like we're doing the same thing that you guys are doing, and it was just like I was like perfect. And they're like, we just want him to have like live out his life, and we're gonna just kind of carry on what you were doing. So then we brought him to this new farm with along with our other animals. We had turkeys. Because then people just started dropping off animals all the time to our. So we had turkeys, we had 12 chickens, we had 2 goats.
Damn.
Yeah.
Do they ever write?
Sorry.
Do they ever write to you?
Yeah, that we hear back from. I actually should follow up with the dude that took him. I haven't talked to him in a bit, but yeah, initially yes. It's been a while since we have talked, but I'm gonna definitely follow up with him.
That's cool. Yeah, it's fucking crazy because if you look at any beef label, it says like naturally raised, no hormones, like all that kind of shit on it. But then you go to the feed that they're eating, and it has nothing to do with what they eat. Like
Yeah,
we don't have
it's
to tell you what we're feeding it, but it's like on the label you're advertising that you're doing a good job of that. You know what I mean?
well also like when you hear like you read the ingredients of something, it says natural flavor. Like natural flavor doesn't like can be anything. You
Yeah.
know, there's like all these like
Oh
loopholes to
yeah.
everything, right? I
That
think
that
even yeah.
yeah, it is funny because that's one of the ingredients to look out for on labels is natural flavors. You're like, what the fuck even
Exactly.
is that? It's another thing too that fast food was advertising for a while, and some companies, 100% beef,
Yeah, it was a company.
and that's the name of the company is 100%
Yeah,
beef. So
yeah,
made with 100% beef, but it doesn't mean it's actually 100% beef. It means that somebody went out and bought a company that's called 100% beef. It's fucked up.
exactly.
But dude, with some of the plant-based shit, and I'm sure I'm not saying that you are a part of it, but like this plant-based shit got out of hand for a little bit, and a lot of the fucking things that claim like plant-based, like it pisses me off on the other side of things. Like when I go to the store and it says plant-based chicken, it's like, dude, it's
Yeah,
not chicken then. It's just not chicken. And
exactly. You know what it is though? I think though I were just saying like if you're going to eat healthy, don't you don't for some people they try and go 100% and it fails. I
yes.
think the idea of that is for somebody who might want to transition, and they want something that's going to remind them of chicken. And I know when I first became plant based, I craved. There was first of a while I craved meat because I was a heavy meat eater, and it was just like I would see like like vegan. I would see like vegan chicken strips, and I was like, oh, okay, fuck, at least I can have some of that. And then that was like the almost the that was like a transitionary period when I was becoming plant based, where it's like there was things that were familiar enough
Right.
that right versus being like, all right, let's start eating garbanzo beans, navy beans, brown rice. It's like holy shit, I'm coming from like meat sauce and pasta and all this kind of stuff, and now you're gonna like I'm not gonna sit here and have some fucking brown
But
rice and beans.
it's
You know what I mean?
it's just such bullshit to me because it's like a lot of it's chemical. Like it's not like
Oh, it's shit.
oh
It's
plant
shit.
kind of like the 100% beef thing. It's like plant based.
Yes.
Plant based is a chemical company that makes fucking fake gum, makes
Yes.
food out of
Yes.
gum, and to a lot of people do it on the side of like, oh, we're helping humanity, and they don't realize that like the amount of pesticides and shit and
Totally.
how they're able to grow those huge plant like how are they able to farm all these ingredients? They kill all the fucking animals even close to it, like bugs,
Yes.
rodents, squirrels. Like they're making sure not one thing can fucking survive near those plants and those crops. And
Well, yes.
it's just. I know there's a bright side to it, but I'm saying like it's kind of funny when you get the social warriors from the plant based shit, or there's a
Yes.
company, bro. This is the worst one to me. It gets under my skin, but it's called Just Egg.
Okay.
Have you seen that?
No. No.
It's literally a fucking yellow container that says just eggs or just egg, and you read the ingredients, and there's no egg in it at all. It's like a plant based egg, so it's anything but egg, but the name of it is
Crazy.
called just egg. That alone pisses
Crazy.
me off. Like I'm not gonna
No,
buy
that's
shit.
stupid.
And then if you read the fucking label, I shit you not, at the bottom, not only does it say just eggs, and there's not one thing to do with a fucking egg in there, but on the
Yeah.
label it says made in a facility that processes eggs.
Crazy.
So what the fuck are you even doing? Like, like so you're buying like some fucking sort of chemical compound that has nothing to do with eggs under the name of eggs in a facility that still processes eggs on the other side. You're like, what the fucking kind of hypocritical fucking bullshit is this, bro? Like, what are you
Well,
doing?
dude, see that, but that's the greater problem. That goes beyond even a plant-based problem, is the fact that like that we even need to go to a grocery store. Like when we had that, even actually before we had that property, we started and we're starting it right now. Like it's been like crazy with working on immigration and stuff, so we've slacked on getting this up sooner rather than later. But we're on it now. Like where we started seeing all that too. It's just like, yeah, of course, like you go to the grocery store to buy kind of a few staples and stuff, maybe your beans and stuff like that. But I want to be able to live almost off my property, because then the truth is, then you're not worried about like, oh, is this an ethical company, or are they killing like, are they taking away food from billions of animals and exterminating everything to just make my plant-based egg? You know what I mean? It's like, and it's just like, man, if you just kind of go pre-industrialization, it's just like, buddy, everybody farmed, or everything was local. And that's kind of like so when we bought that property, we grew so much food. And, if we wanted to, we were pretty much getting to the point where we could sustain ourselves off of the property. And now, so this year, I've planted about 13 trees on my property here, a
Right.
variety of fruit trees. And this winter, I'm going to start doing all vegetables and stuff. And because I want to be able to like, go and just pick fruit off the vine and pick stuff off the vine, and even go to a grocery store even less, because with it, like, it's like, it's all, at the end of the day, anything that's like processed is shit. Like it doesn't matter if it's plant-based or if it's meat, it doesn't matter. It's like people are always just trying to capitalize on something. So at the end of the day, I think you just kind of have to,
It's wild to
yeah,
see all that, dude. It's fucking wild. And then like our buddy Tano that Jake introduced me to, he plays for the Saints, bro. The dude's like 280 pounds, huge
yeah,
ass human being, like 6'7", 6'8".
yeah,
He, him and I, like, I was going over to Jake's, and before training, some days I go do like strength training with them,
Yep.
and try to keep up. They're both big human beings, so I would just like I'd be just trying to keep up with them as best as I can. But we go do that, we go lift, and then we go to jiu-jitsu. And I was like fucking around with Tano because I'm like, bro, there's no way you're a vegan. Like, what the fuck? Like, how is your? He's big, dude. He's a fucking jacked ass dude. Even on the
Yep.
football field, when you see him play, you could like he's bigger than most people on the field. And he like came over one day, dude, and he like bought like a. He has to eat every so often,
Hmm.
and he came over and we are just like chilling, bullshitting, and he fucking like ordered like a whole like vegan buffet, bro, and I don't know where he got it from. I don't know where he ordered it from, but
Yeah.
we ended up with like vegan mozzarella sticks, vegan burgers, vegan chicken fingers, like
Yep.
just this whole like anything you could think of from that restaurant. He just ordered it all and was like, "Here, bro, I'm about to put you on," and it wasn't bad. I mean, if I could like adapt to, it's adaptable. Like
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
I don't know, like I don't know a lot behind the science and stuff like that. Like protein deficiency, I think is a big one. I think like a lot of guys that do vegan, I think that's probably one of the hardest obstacles is getting sufficient protein out of it. That's why I asked you about like protein. Like, are you sure you get enough
Yes.
protein? But
So with the protein, that no, that and that's so true. That's so true. But so it's like now, so we mainly like, so we don't like we have like our we call it like red. We talk to our kids like we have our red light days, and our red light days like we'll go out somewhere for dinner and we'll get something plant based, but it's not homemade Whole Foods meal. It's like it's our once a week where we'll like we'll have like Beyond Meat burgers and stuff like that, right?
Mhm.
And our kids know it's a red light meal or whatever. But in terms of like the protein and stuff like that, that is what I was saying. It's just like you have to be successful with that off the bat because with a lot of people, that's why I was saying like understand nutrition before you just like, oh, I'm gonna go vegan and then just eat pasta and you will become deficient in all kinds of things. Like I eat pasta too, obviously, but I'm just saying like you don't want to just start eating all this pre-made shit and then expect to be healthy. So now we pretty much we cook 3 meals a day. We're always cooking. There's our dishes in our sink are always like piled up because we're constantly cooking. But when we have like we'll have like meetings on Sunday nights to talk about the meals we want to cook throughout the week to understand how much protein we need for the day. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And for each meal, and like we have it down to a science with even like my wife makes these brownies, these plant-based brownies, they're the whole food brownies. They taste like a treat, but they're like it's a little meal essentially. And when I know each little brownie has 10 grams of protein, so I'm just like I know that if I eat 3 of them, I've got 30 grams of protein just in those three little brownies, and everything else in it is whole food based. So we're very conscious of that, but you can easily not be conscious of that, and then it will work against you because you will become deficient in something inevitably.
Yeah. So and I know you're not against supplements, right? Like you're like,
No, no, but even dude, there's amazing supplements right now too. Like there's a wicked brand called Garden of Life, and everything they do is organic, whole foods based, and they have protein powders, that are just packed with all the good stuff, micros, macros. There's nothing in there that you would read that you wouldn't know what it is. And so like I have a protein shake every day after the gym or whatever. So yeah, no, I'm into all the supplementation as long as if it's quality.
what's the green thing you're always drinking at the end of practice?
So every day I have a smoothie that has wheatgrass, spirulina, um, either kale or spinach, blueberries, strawberries, bananas, plant-based protein.
Are you like cleaning your juicer like 24/7?
That so that's a smoothie. So that I'll put in the Vitamix. And but the
Uh,
juicer we do once a day. So like the pretty much like we wake up in the morning, the whole family has lemon water, and then we wait 20 minutes, and then we juice our celery, and then everybody has a glass of celery juice before they
gotcha.
eat breakfast. Yeah, and I don't usually eat breakfast. Me personally, I find like I'll either go to jujitsu or I'll go to the gym, and then I'll have my first meal really kind of afterwards.
Gotcha. Yeah, see, I'm coming from the opposite, bro. Like I usually actually since the baby, since like because I was in the hospital and
Yep.
they don't fucking they last time we were there, bro. They gave like the mom and dad both got free meals. Well, I know it's
Yep.
not
No.
free, but
Yeah. Yeah.
you could
That's
call up.
something.
Yeah, you could call them up and be like, hey, I want breakfast. Like he wants this, she wants this. Okay, this
Yep.
time they like wouldn't do it. They're like, oh no, it's just for the mom. So
Oh, weird.
yeah, I know, right? And after however much money they spend, but it they did a good job, but I didn't get like I've been eating 3,500 to 4,000 calories a day,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been
Mm-hmm.
trying to match at least a gram per pound. So I'm
Yep.
like 160, 165. I've been trying to eat like 170 to 175 grams of protein a day,
Yep.
and I mean, kind of like what you do. Like I'll make like little meal prep containers, and I'll know that like this is like 35 grams of protein right here. I don't really pay too much attention to carbs and fats. I just kind of like I got to the point where I'm like, okay, I feel good. I feel a lot better. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe down the road, and this is going back to our first point, like this is like a step by step thing. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like maybe down the road I'll start paying more attention to my carbs and my fats and well
Yes. Yes. Yes.
and that kind of shit. But like right now I'm like protein and calories because like
Yes.
I fucking it's so hard for me to gain weight and I want to gain more weight and I'm lifting and doing jujitsu, so I might be I don't know. It's always a science
Well,
is my
you
point.
gotta.
But
I'm gonna text this to you after. So you gotta check out this guy. His name is Nimai Delgado. Okay, he has been he grew. He's a white dude, American guy, lives in L.A. Works out at sorry, lives in Venice Beach. Works out at Muscle Beach. He has been plant based since he was born because his parents were hippies back in the day. Became Hindu, and he grew up in like an ashram somewhere in the Midwest. Or he has this crazy story. So he only ever has never ever had any meat or any in his system. Period. He's because a lot of times, like when I was coming up with this, and I was just like trying to look at somebody who's like who has done this forever. Because like you could have this amazing huge bodybuilder,
right,
that goes plant based, and he's like, yeah, I'm plant based, and it's like, well, you've been plant based for like a year, but like you've been eating meat for 30 years while you're bodybuilding, so that's not a great example. But Nimai Delgado he's a professional bodybuilder. He's in a movie also called The Game Changers, which is about all the elite athletes in the world that are plant based, like Serena Williams. He's in it, and I think that he's a strongman. At
okay,
the time, he's like this Turkish dude. He was currently during the movie film when the film was made. He was the strongest man in the world. He's also plant based, but Nimai was struck me the most because he had only ever been plant based, and he's a professional bodybuilder. When he's like obviously getting ready for competitions, he's just shredded. He's big. Now he's kind of toned down because he's not competing anymore. Now he's more like uh, talks about nutrition and stuff like that. But he he only eats half a gram of protein per 1 pound of body weight. Um, so like he's like if you're 150 pounds, he's just like your body can only really needs 75
75
grams of
grams.
protein.
Wow,
Yes, and he's done this and he brings other people on like that are plant-based like bodybuilders, and they'll talk about and it's interesting because he'll bring all these other people that are kind of doing the same thing that he is, that are huge and jacked, and their protein intake is like half a gram of protein per pound of body,
it's
and
it's
yeah.
crazy because I haven't been like I have like I drink protein shakes. Like I've been
Mm-hmm.
like more conscious about it than ever, and like I feel like I'm having a pretty hard time with it this time. But I feel like I'm staying pretty lean. I'm just not like
Yeah.
bulking. But
Yeah. Totally.
that's interesting because it's funny because dude, like I just been spending so much fucking money at the grocery store, bro. I can't leave without dropping $90. Even if it's
I
like
know.
with how much I'm eating, I'm like, okay, I'm out of snacks. Okay, I'm out of bananas. Okay, I'm out of protein. Okay, I'm gonna need chicken or beef, or okay, I'm gonna need rice. Like, and like I'm like eating so fucking much that I'm walking out of the grocery store with just like my normal day routine snacks, and it's like $90 at a time. I started thinking like in the hospital. Of course, I came home hungry as shit, and first couple of days, bro, we ate nothing but pizza, and I loved it.
Yeah, yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah, and that's
it
okay too.
Yeah, right. But now I'm starting to think like today. It's funny. I had this like light bulb moment where I'm like, maybe I should just lean up. Maybe I should just say fuck bulking, and I
Yeah,
should just lean up. And then I saw this video from this other guy. I could probably find out as we talk, but like he basically the same thing you said. He was debunking. Can you still hear me?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I lost you. Yeah, I lost you for a second, but you're back.
Okay. Yeah. For some reason, I wanted to connect to my TV. I was trying to look up the guy so I cited him right, but
Yeah.
he's just a YouTuber, bodybuilder guy that I guess he's like a doctor
Hmm.
in nutrition and stuff, and like he has like videos of like people's training routines, and he dissects it, and he tells you it's like complete bullshit or not, and tells you like how the personal trainers are just fucking horrible and hurting these people,
Yeah.
and like I don't know, but he had this video today, and I was talking about the myth of like, like do you need 2 grams of protein per pound of body weight? Do you need to eat as 1 gram per how much weight you want to have? So if you want to be 180, do you need to eat 180?
Hmm.
And he pretty much was like, according to his research, he was talking about how you could get away with a gram or less even
Yes. Yeah.
of protein per body weight. And that was like his thing at the bottom. Like maybe I'll just make sure I'm eating super clean. Like maybe I just need to get back to super clean and like just
Yeah.
go from there.
And I bet you probably won't even
But
notice so
I
much of a
will say
difference
one
because
of the
yeah.
best. There's a picture on my Instagram. It's probably deep down by now, but it
Hmm.
was like of all the different diets I tried, and each of them was like a 4 month period.
Hmm.
And there was one where I was just vegetarian, and I got down to like 151 pounds
Hmm.
and pretty lean, pretty shredded. And I remember getting energy, but it wasn't long term energy. It was just like I would eat like a lot of veggies and I'd have good clean energy, but it was
Hmm.
nothing like explosive, and it was more consistent. And then I remember I would get really really hungry and have to eat again. And
Yes.
then
No.
I
That is
added
so.
like
That is for
fish.
sure. You do have to eat a lot.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I was
I'm
gonna
plant
ask you
based.
about
Like I'm
that too,
always.
but
I'm
then
always. I'm always eating.
that's funny.
Yeah.
I started adding chicken and fish to it, and
Yeah.
eating like a lot more fatty foods like avocado and peanut butter.
Hmm.
And I got up to like 165, and I felt like a good amount of like energy and stuff. And then I got to the point where I was like 185, 188, and it was
Hmm.
beer and fast food and whatever the fuck was in front of me, pizza, like
Yeah.
just like dirty bulking. And
Yeah.
to be honest, like that's when I walked in the gym was when I was 188, just dirty bulking and trying to be as big as I possibly could. And that's when I started training again.
Hmm.
And I was fucking like slow and pathetic. Like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it was tough. But
I get it.
it's just finding the right diet is such a process. It's like one of the hardest things. But it's like you said, and then not only finding ingredients and what you want to eat and what's clean, but it's also the figuring out what the fuck is clean. Like going to the store and you think
Well,
that
dude.
you're eating just
Yeah.
peanut butter, you're not doing yourself a bad service, but then you realize that shit's made with like you know so much bullshit in it.
And not only that, man. It's
And
just
just
like you
because the
said. Like
label
it
says organic,
does.
go
Yeah.
ahead. Sorry.
Exactly. No. It's just like you kind of like saying like every time we go, you end up spending $90. But I'm just like, man, like first of all, we live in Florida. We can pretty much grow anything. Like if you have a little parcel of property, a little backyard, like I have like so many banana trees going right now that by hopefully by next year they'll all be producing. But like I'm like, man, like I won't probably have to buy very many bananas anymore. Same like my, and then I'm growing an avocado tree and mangoes. So even like you look at like so I grew passion fruit vines this year, and they grew along my fence. One friggin' passion fruit, dude, which is like the size of a small tomato, um, is like $4 at the grocery store. Okay, and there's a spoonful of fruit inside once you open it up, and I grew 50 of them with no effort at all. So it was just like on my first year. And then like I planted this papaya tree, like maybe 5 months ago. It's already producing. It's got like 30 papayas on there, and it was small. But we're in Florida. These things grow crazy quick. So I'm gonna have all like so I'm like there's so much that we can grow that like I'm like, yeah, am I gonna be able to eat all these 30 papayas? No, but I'm gonna friggin' cut them down. I'm gonna freeze them, and then I have smoothies. Same with the bananas. And so you can
Nice.
harvest a lot of this good quality stuff on your own. And same with like you vegetables like spinach and all that stuff. Like if you're not gonna use it, you just cut it down and you put in Ziploc bags, you freeze it. You got all this stuff for like years to come that you can just turn into soups or you can turn into smoothies or whatever. It's like there's so much that we can do is to limit the amount of stuff that we even have to get at a grocery store.
Would you be able to like make a huge bulk amount of the celery juice that you do and then freeze it?
So
Like
if
almost like
you
little
have
packs?
yes, you could do that. You could totally do that. Yeah, as long so I think if you do it in a cold pressed juicer, which I don't have, I have just an old school juicer where you have to drink it within the hour if you want it to be fresh. If you
Mm.
do if you have a juicer like I do and you wanted to just do it in bulk, then yeah, you could just freeze it. If you have a cold press juicer, then you can press the juice and it's good for like 3 days in a fridge. But if not, yeah, you could freeze and do all kinds of stuff for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool, man. That's like
Yeah.
it makes such a difference on your body. Um, for the listeners at home, because
There you go.
like I said, man, I'm like kind of a firm believer, like in not in a judgmental way, but like kind of like in an empathetic way, where like I sit around and I see like I don't know, I guess it's a little bit judgy, but it's a little bit of like I've been there,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it's like gosh, like I'll just see people like drinking coke, smoking cigarettes, like stoke after stoke after stoke, or candy,
Yep.
candy, candy, and I'm like, man, like if you just like gave yourself a month,
Yeah.
and a lot of it's gathering knowledge and putting a lot of time and effort and trial and error into it. It's not like a
Mm-hmm.
quick process, but like you just gave yourself a month or two just to get on like a solid diet. Fuck, man, like
Yep.
it's the world. And like think about we probably feel it more because we're like athletes, so we're at the gym
Mm-hmm.
pushing it and stuff. But I know one thing I used to get a lot from training was like headaches and stuff,
Yes. Yes.
and like knock on wood, like hopefully I've got those under control now because I'm not eating as much sugar or drinking as much, or I try to keep my thumb on anti-inflammatory stuff. You know what I mean?
Yes. No, it's
That's why
true, man.
that's why you post that celery juice. I'm like, you had me at inflammation.
Yeah, well, because I think too, like when you kind of do the stuff like we're doing, like if you're lifting and we're doing like combat sport type stuff, like you get injured. So it's just like, and then there's like, so there's inflammation. There's inflammation due to injury. Like you got in an accident and stuff, right? And then there's inflammation based on the stuff that we eat. So then you kind of combine that, and then you just feel like shit, like you're always in pain. You know.
Mhm.
So I think it's important to kind of just have as much of that stuff that we can to kind of clean us out as much as possible. And yeah,
Well, we've talked everything from aliens to diet.
yes, sir.
We can cap this off with your good old tour bus stories.
You know what? We'll do
Fuck,
that one. We'll do that one in private.
fuck, that was worth a try.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for doing it again, man. I appreciate it.
Of course,
And
man.
I hope the newborn's doing good.
You too. You too.
Everything going smooth over there?
So far, so good. Yeah, and you guys as well.
So far, so good, man.
All right, let's keep it
I'll have,
up, dude.
I'll have to connect with you. I'll probably shoot you a text after this because I got some questions.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
and I want to. Yes, yes, and I want to send you that guy Nimai Delgado to check out because he's like interesting dude.
Most definitely. I don't know if I'll ever give up steak because it's just so
Yeah,
easy, bro.
yeah, I
But
get it. Yeah, I get it.
it's
Yeah, just to understand other stuff, just to kind of see it and be, oh, that's kind of cool.
is there shit that's gonna clean up my body like fucking celery juice, and that's all it takes. And fuck it.
Yeah,
All right,
that's
bro. You
awesome.
have a good night.
You too, man. We'll chat soon.
Yeah.
See you, buddy. Bye.
I think the podcast is fucking sick. If you're listening to it and you're like, I don't know if I want to listen to the next episode of this podcast. You're probably a bitch ass. You need to listen to the next episode of this podcast and keep listening to it. Um, because my friends down here are trying to make shit happen, and we're
That's
gonna make some shit happen.